Are you interested in becoming a radio presenter? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Gemma, and alongside being a presenter and producer, I also manage a radio station called Youth Choice, where I'm the station coordinator. This means that I manage and train all of the presenters, so I definitely know a thing or two when it comes to the radio. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know about going live on air. The first thing that you need to know about is the equipment. This desk is a Sonifex S2, but most desks in a radio studio are pretty similar to this. These are called faders. If the fader is all the way up, then the volume of whatever is associated with the fader will play. If it's down, then nothing will play. The faders for the microphones are on the right hand side with mics 1 to 4, and above you will see 2 dials. The top one is for the trim, which can help adjust the volume if you're too quiet or too loud. You want to use this instead of the microphone fader, as you'll always want the mic fully up when presenting. The bottom one is for the pan, which controls whether the volume is more predominant in the right or left ear. You'll usually want to leave this in the middle. Over here are the headphone and monitor dials. Similar to the trim, if you turn them up, then the volume will be louder. If you turn them down, the volume will be quieter. On the left hand side of the desk, we have a load more faders. The A and B fader always have to stay up because this is where any music, sweepers or adverts play out of. I'll go more into detail about this shortly. If you want to play any clips or sound effects from the PC, that will come out of this PC fader right here. If you have a newsreader in the studio with you, then the news clips will play out of this burly fader. The C fader is very important because this is where your beds will play out of. Beds are the music that you hear behind a presenter when they're speaking. They keep the momentum up and just make everything sound a little bit better. The D fader never really has to go up, but this is where the music will come from when you PFL. These buttons here are used to PFL, which means pre-fader listen. If you want to listen to something without it actually going live on air, then you'll press these buttons, but never put the faders up because then it will actually go out live on air. For example, if I wanted to listen to the intro of a song out loud, I will PFL the D fader alongside the monitor. If I wanted to practice speaking with a bed before I go on air, I'll PFL the C fader, my microphone and the headphones. Moving on to the software, this is a software that I'm going to be covering today called Zeta. At another radio station, I use Myriad, so if anyone wants a video showing how to use that, then let me know. Up here, you will see the times and dates. Make sure that you're on the right time. This is easy to see because the songs that I've already played are greyed out. Down here is all of the audio that can be played on the station, from songs to imaging to adverts. If the station is locked, like ours is, you will not be able to put in any songs or move the songs on the schedule around, but you can put in any sweepers and imaging if needed. Over here are the hotkeys. Depending on your station, you will have different hotkeys, but here we have sweepers, sound effects, but most importantly, beds. When you're on air, you're most likely going to want to use a bed. As I mentioned earlier, it keeps a good pace and a bit of background noise for when you're speaking. These will come out of the C fader, and I'd recommend to keep it at around 15 or 20 so that it doesn't overpower your voice. What you don't want is for the bed to clash with any music, so what I like to do is press it just after I start talking and turn it down just before the next song starts playing. But you're probably wondering, how do you stop the songs from playing one after another so that you can speak? First of all, you're going to want to change the bit up here that says auto to live assist. This means that you have control over the buttons instead of the system. Then you'll put a stopper in on the song that you want to speak after. This means that the song will stop. Then you will speak with your bed and press the next button for the song to play. Or if you don't have a keyboard with the next button, you can press this one on Zeta. Although, if a song has an intro, you can speak into the intro without a bed. This is probably my favourite part of radio presenting because it makes everything sound sharper, and it's also a really good feeling when you hit the intro nicely. To do this, all you need to do is just before the song plays, turn down the A or the B fader slightly depending on which one the song is playing out of. You can check this up here. Usually it will say the length of the intro next to the song, but I'd recommend PFLing it to check anyways. If it's long enough, you may not even have to put a stopper and you can just speak right up into it until you hit the lyrics. But usually you will use a bed for most of your link, then turn it down, press next for the song to play, keep speaking up until the end of the intro, turn the A or B fader back up, mic down, and boom, you've mastered radio presenting. Actually, I take it back. You've mastered the equipment and the software, but that doesn't mean that you're a pro presenter just yet. One of the most important parts when presenting is the content that goes into it. You're going to need to think of what sort of vibe you want your show to be. I'm going to be covering the basics of what goes into producing content for a commercial radio show, which is the stuff that you'd hear throughout the day on stations like Capital or Heart. A good base is to think of a segment. For example, I've done segments like the lead up to Christmas or Gemma's Dilemmas. I'll link these down below so that you can go and watch. A segment is basically something that you can do regularly to keep listeners engaged and wanting to come back. But you can't just rely on segments to fill up your show. Celebrity gossip is very common when radio presenting. You can find what to talk about on sites like TMZ, E! News, Pop Buzz, or you could just type celebrity news into Google. But remember to not be too controversial, keep it unbiased and light-hearted. Music news is also a great thing to talk about to show your passion for the music that you're giving to the listener. Try and keep updated with the latest music, especially if there's a song about to play that you can hype up. A crunch and roll is a link that doesn't have any exact content. Sometimes you can just keep it short and snappy to keep the listener engaged and have a little bit of banter in between your links. You can reintroduce yourself, you can tell the time, it's up to you. If you don't know how to structure your show, this is a good way to start. So in an hour, you should have approximately 7 links, starting off with your intro, obviously, and then a tease towards a piece of content, then your piece of content, then a crunch and roll about halfway through the show, another tease, another piece of content, and then your outro. A few little tips: smile into the microphone before you go on air. It might sound stupid, but it really helps to uplift you and the listener. You don't want to sound bored. Plan your show, but don't script it. You want it to sound as natural as possible and not like you're reading from a piece of paper, but make sure to still write some bullet points so that you know what you're talking about. Don't say guys. This is a crutch phrase that I've had to train so many people out of. You want to sound as personal and direct to the listener as possible. So that's pretty much it. Now you know all the basics on going live on air, from the equipment and the software to what content to include, to a few tips and tricks that you need to know before getting into the industry. I know this might sound like a lot, so feel free to drop any questions down below, alongside a like and comment if you found this useful. Thanks for watching!